Kicker right. All right. So we'll start off with this segment. We shall start off with this segment. Let me move my bro Urs off the screen so he's not caught up in that. So I was sitting back and I'll show you the video that actually brought me to wanting to have this particular segment called Dumb-ish I Said the Other Day. And it was kind of like a little bit of a joke, but it was also, you know, afterwards, after sometimes I have the show, different people say different things, or I'll just go and, you know, do a little bit more research on certain things. And obviously you try to, you know, make sure that you're doing the research beforehand, but sometimes you don't always get it exactly right. And it's important for me to go back and either clarify or acknowledge an area where I was like, I was wrong on that one. I was off on that one, and explain to you all, get y'all feedback, and kind of go from there. And one of those things was a video that there was a couple different ones. So, and I said, you know what? It kind of happened with it happened with the Olympic boxer. And just to kind of give you guys a heads up on this one, but it also happened with something on the last show that was discussed when it came to Kamala Harris. All right, I want to show you guys a video that I played when it came to Kamala, and I want to get you back and explain a little bit more clearly on what exactly I said, what I thought I was wrong about, what I may have been right about. So let's once again, this is Dumb-ish the other day. And the reason why this is so important is because as I look on the news, you don't get an objective feel. You don't get just information. We just get opinions, and we get, mostly in my opinion, propaganda. And it's usually stuff that doesn't matter whether it's fact checked or not, whether it's the New York Times, whether it's MSNBC, whether it's Fox News, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And people are just putting out information. And what do we typically do? We just go along with it. We just go along with it, especially if it aligns with something that we're already trying to prove. So I was looking at it and I said, you know what? I got to make sure that I'm never turning into that. And if I do say something, that I go back and address it, bring more clarity to it, or just say like, no, I was wrong on this one. So I want to show you this video that I played the other day. I want to show y'all this video. Too bad Dan ain't here. All right, so it should be sharing. And I want y'all to take a look at this video, and then I'm going to explain why I think that either I was wrong or it needs more clarity. Shout out to Queez in the building. Yeah, we definitely reflecting on a Monday. Reflecting on a Monday. Got the overcast. Might as well reflect. All right, so let's take a look at this.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
And if you're seeing on here, so what was reported was that Kamala, obviously, if you saw, and I kind of want to wait to, that's why I kind of wanted to wait till the last part of the video. I'm just going to keep going, and then I'll explain it afterwards.
Because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Okay, so obviously you heard Trump and you heard Kamala say similar things. What's good, Ant? So Ant, you're just joining us. We got a new segment, and it's just going to bring some clarity. The segment is called Dumb-ish I Said the Other Day, and it's just kind of circling back to certain things where I feel like I was either off on, completely wrong, or just didn't give enough clarity to. So as you just saw that video on Kamala, a lot of people were putting that up and relating the Inflation Reduction Act. So what we just saw of her signing, there was a 50-50. So she broke the tiebreaker, and she signed into action, whatever you want to call it, a policy, or called the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, after the show on Friday, I did a whole bunch of deep digging on this Inflation Reduction Act just because I wanted to learn more. And I was also thinking about, I'm like, okay, because I saw as I was doing a little research, some people respond and say, oh, this isn't true. The Inflation Reduction Act didn't do this. Kamala didn't sign this into play. The Inflation Reduction Act. And this, I also learned that a lot of times when they push these acts through, the name of the acts tends to be very misleading. It's called the Inflation Reduction Act. So you're obviously thinking that it has to do with something about inflation. But the more research that I did, it's pretty much a plan to hire a bunch of workers with the IRS to pretty much go out there and raise money in collecting people's taxes that were not paid on, or they feel like they can get some more money from. That's pretty much what it does. It sent out, it raised the budget of something like, I don't even want to say the exact budget. I think it said it actually in the video, but it raised the budget to hire a bunch of these workers. So a lot of people will now be getting audited. And what it claimed in the initial act, or in the act, is that people who make less than 400,000 will not be impacted. Now, when the Republicans tried to amend and get that said in the actual act, I believe the Democrats turned it down and just pushed it through as is. So this was my understanding on it. The Inflation Reduction Act. So it's pretty much meant to collect funds from taxpayers in order to feed the government. And then that money, along with some other tax breaks that come with like some environmental benefits, a bunch of other stuff, would just pretty much give the money, just taking money and bring it into the government. So therefore we can address inflation. Now, doing my research, I believe it was the Penn School, the Wharton School of Business, they did some research on it. They did a study, and it showed that it was like a 0.1 chance of actually helping inflation. Neither here nor there. What do I think that I was off on? This act does not specifically say that it's going to tax service workers. Does not say that. But what it will do, based on a bunch of the feedback that I got from it, doing my due diligence, what the due diligence that I did, what it does is it actually provides a program to where service workers can add their tips, which we all know how that goes with the point of sale, but it wouldn't directly be the service workers. It would be their employers. So here they would create a program. And this was after the act was put in place. So the initial act is just going to get people out there to do more and more audits. If you've ever been audited, then you understand that they're pretty much saying like, hey, you paid this amount of taxes. We think you owe more, pay up, or prove it to us that you don't. Now, the other thing that they put in play that year for taxes was this thing on their website that they had for service workers or employers to report the tips. So in all actuality, what would happen is the people now using these point of sale things rather than cash. That's why a lot of your waiters and waitresses like to get cash, because that's not something that they have to report. So therefore, they typically wouldn't have to pay taxes on those. With this program that they put out, you would have to pay taxes on the tips. And what happens is the employers pay. So it's not the actual service worker that pays. They report it now to the employer, and the restaurant owner or whoever, they then do their calculations and would pay the service workers less. So I felt that I wasn't clear on that. So that's my understanding on it. So I felt that it was, what I said the other day was misleading, because I almost presented it in a way where it's like, okay, Kamala voted to tax service workers tips before. Now she's voting for something. Now she's saying something totally different. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was exactly what I just described. It was she put out this act with Biden that was going to have more and more people out there that would be pretty much auditing people that have their own businesses. And there's not a 400,000. It's not what they proposed, though. Nobody would be affected if you're making under 400,000. And based on the numbers that I looked up, the amount of people that actually get audited the most are the people that make less than that amount. So the program that they put in play would hire more workers, so more workers can pretty much go out there and audit. If you work for the IRS, if you're familiar with the IRS, then you understand the IRS's job is to just go collect money from tax-paying citizens. It is what it is. So hopefully that gave a little bit more clarity. There's one other video that I want to play regarding this exact situation. Dumb ish I said the other day. I already kind of reflected on it the other day, but I want to go and address it again, and then we can move on. Hold on one second. All right. So some of you may or may not remember this case.
In women's boxing around Imane Khelif from Algeria, video circulating of her knocking out an Italian fighter in 47 seconds, and statements from a boxing organization that indicated she was banned from competition for sex testing that indicated an abnormality that might suggest that she's not a woman. To be very clear, this is not a situation of a trans athlete. This organization is no longer part of the Olympics. In fact, it was kicked out of the Olympics over the fact that this IBA boxing organization is essentially run by the Russian government. The National Olympic Organization of Algeria has denied this. They say that she's a woman on her passport, she's a biological woman, and that these are all baseless attacks. The IOC is adamant that she's eligible to compete and that she is a woman. And here's what they say about it.
This is a minefield. And unfortunately, as with all minefields, we want a simple explanation. Everyone wants a black and white explanation of how we can determine this. That explanation does not exist, neither in the scientific community nor anywhere else. As I've said before, if we can find a consensus, and we will work towards a consensus, we will certainly work to apply that. Clearly, that's not going to happen at these games.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video...
All right, so now I know that we talked about it before, where we kind of circled back and we discussed the fact that she's born with a condition, I believe, that's called Moore syndrome, which even though you grow up as a woman where you never develop your male organs, so therefore you have your XY chromosomes, which technically make you a man, but your XY chromosomes don't necessarily... Your body doesn't develop based on you having those XY chromosomes. And I made the statement that she was born a man. I have no proof that she was born a man. So it's not a trans situation. Initially, I thought that it was more towards a trans situation. It's more towards her having a condition to where she's obviously going to develop a lot more testosterone. A lot of people with this Moore syndrome, they're not able to get pregnant. I believe a lot of them don't ever get their period. So they understand maybe when they reach their teens that their bodies are a bit different or a lot different than, let's say, most other women, because they technically are men living in underdeveloped bodies. And when I say underdeveloped bodies, I mean they never developed their male organs. So even though they may have higher amounts of testosterone, be stronger, have more manly characteristics, I should not have said that she was born a woman, born a man. So that's a totally different situation. I don't even know how you deal with a situation like this. I don't know how you deal with somebody that was pretty much born like an intersex. I believe that's what they call it. I don't know if they have certain advantages that are over the other women that are not born with this condition. What would be the right field for them to compete in? I'm gonna be totally honest, I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure that I presented to y'all in a particular way where I'm very clear on giving you certain information and not misleading you. So that's the two things. So this is going to be a segment. Hopefully I don't have to do it too much, or hopefully the segment won't get too long, but I'm going to make sure that as I go back, and I'm always looking to, see what things that I could have been better on, that we looked into this segment called Dumb Ish I Said the Other Day. So y'all feel free. If Danny was here, I'm sure he would let me know probably some other areas where he thinks that I was off, but I'll always go back, take a look at it, process it, and figure out and make sure that I'm presenting you all the right information. So now that we got that out the way, happy Monday, Lucille. Beautiful people sending love, light, and peace. So now that we got that out the way, let's get to the meat of this thing. Oh, and hold on, let me show y'all. All right, so now I gotta talk a little ish. So this is the video that actually, let me show you the video that actually made me put something up like this. And it gets to a point where when we're looking at news and when we're looking at what I kind of described in the beginning, how people will kind of just fly off the handle and say certain things without fact checking it, and when the news outlets become less and less objective, these are the things that are going to occur. So I just want to make sure that I'm not giving y'all this type of information or even just having this type of energy on the page. So let me show y'all exactly what I'm referring to. So this particular situation, this is the video that made me come up with dumb-ish I said the other day. All right, so y'all take a look at it and we'll walk through. And this is what we have to fight when it comes to news outlets and media and us allowing ourselves to get manipulated.
When Donald Trump called the media the enemy of the people, I never imagined the bulk of the mainstream media would work tirelessly to live up to that tag. But here we are, and from the Fine People hoax to the Russian collusion hoax to the Kamala is a great and visionary leader delusion, the gaslighting and deliberate disinfo has been turned up to thermonuclear levels. Large segments of the media are so shameless that they even took a poignant moment from the Republican National Convention when Trump paid tribute to Corey Compatore, the father and fireman who was murdered at a Trump rally by the assassin who was trying to kill President Trump. Here is Corey's widow this week talking about what that moment meant to the family.
Corey's firefighter gear was displayed at the Republican National Convention, which was a special honor.
That was an honor. That was a big honor. All day at the rally, my husband kept saying, he's going to call me up on stage. You're going to hear him. He's going to say, Corey, come on up here. Corey, get up here. He was just joking, you know, obviously, but he kept saying that. You're going to get up, you know, he's going to call me up on stage. And we were all like, there's his moment. He's up on stage.
It was a powerful, emotional moment, but this is how the media spoke of the tribute. Let's start with MS.
So clearly this is the gentleman that was a firefighter. I believe he pretty much tried to, when the shots ended up going off, he tried to shield his family and he ended up getting killed, was a firefighter. So therefore Trump, you know, decided to bring his firefighter jacket, helmet on stage in order to honor him. So based on all the things that I said before and why I decided to start this segment, this is what ends up happening when we have news outlets that are just so biased and not objective. Journalists that don't want to give us information, but instead want to feed us a certain level of propaganda in order to sway us one way or another. So that's why I said it's important for me to make sure that, you know, I'm circling back. But look at what it causes. Look at this video response based on Trump honoring the firefighter.
SNBC.
I was sickened by the prop that was Mr. Comparator.
Well, exactly. Compatore, yeah.
Compatore. I was sickened by them using him as a prop, his firefighter jacket, and then they spelled the man's name wrong. And so he said, oh, we're so grateful that the fire department sent this to us. These are local dang on dollars, okay? This is not, you know, Chicago Fire. Angela Bass ain't about to come out. They got their names on the back of
Yeah, first and foremost, like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? Like, why is she speaking like that? Like, why is it okay? Like, I don't know if y'all notice it. I don't know. But I don't know whether that's a new thing for certain people in politics where it's almost like you try to go on a professional platform and sound as like street or whatever as possible. I don't know. I don't know, but it just sounds a little crazy just to hear her even speak with this type of energy and to be speaking like this on this type of situation. But let's rewind a couple seconds and then we'll listen to the rest.
And so he said, oh, we're so grateful that the fire department sent this to us. These are local dang on dollars, okay? This is not, you know, Chicago Fire. Angela Bass ain't about to come out. They got their names on the back of the jackets. Like, who are you fooling? But then they put the name on it and they spelled it wrong. I was just kind of like, if we're gonna do props, Like, let's at least get it right.
I'm trying to organize that chaos in my mind.
Just gross. The truth is, it wasn't a prop. It was Corey's real uniform, and the moron activists in the media who ran with that angle would have known that if they did even 5 seconds of research, because Corey's former colleagues had displayed his uniform as a tribute well before the Republican National Convention. We'd already seen this image. Those with any interest in the assassination attempt and its victims knew that. Any media reporting on it could have checked that within seconds, but no. In their desperation to slam Trump, they manufactured a story giving little thought to how it would impact a grieving family. And that fake news about the Trump camp misspelling Corey's name went far and wide. And it was also evident right here in Australia. They were eager to push that fake news from the free-to-air stations to the 9 papers. Here's how The Age reported Trump's speech at the Republican National Convention. They claimed that the tribute to the killed firefighter misspells name. They put that in the headline. That was their focus. And here is the Sydney Morning Herald and their headline. Our friend Corey, Trump tribute to killed firefighter misspells name. Just shameful fake.
So obviously, y'all can understand what I'm saying. So I want to make sure that I'm not getting to a point where, you know, that I'm doing stuff like this. This is just, it's just where we are. It's just where we are. We are in a place where I wouldn't believe anything that anybody says. You just have to do your due diligence, have to do your research, and have to actually look into it for ourselves, because whether it's the AI stuff, whether it's the fake, I forget what the fake videos they call them, we are being fed propaganda. We're being fed propaganda. And like we said, I told y'all, look up that Smith-Mundt Act. That Smith-Mundt Act, I believe it was changed in 2013. And it pretty much allows, you could take it however you want to take it, but it pretty much allows for propaganda to be told and to be put out towards the American public, where before you couldn't put out propaganda to the American public. You could only put it out to the rest of the world, which is pretty interesting. But I mean, I can understand that. It's almost like a sports team where you have your information in-house. You don't necessarily want to give out other information. You could be like, you know, this person's getting healthy. They're working towards their end. You're not going to say everything and allow the competition to know exactly what's going on. So I understand it a little bit from a standpoint of, you know, putting that propaganda out to other countries. But obviously that could be a little bit problematic as well. But let's move on. And I could finally take this off the screen.